Locke has always been a mysterious character. From the first moment, even after Riot revealed that we are dealing with a Demacian exorcist, one that was all about hunting down demons, it was obvious that something was off. And not everything that was revealed is 100% honest. Sure, Locke has good tools to hunt down demons, but what's going on with the spirit magic? Why is he disappearing into ash? And what's really going on with the skull? To these questions, we still don't have the answer. But with every new breadcrumb, be it the reveal of his in-game abilities or his voice lines, we get an inch closer to learning the truth. And today, with the reveal of Locke's story, we get a whole new plot twist. One that also involves other champions that have been waiting for their own spotlight. And so, without further ado, let's dive into Locke's new story. Now, as the story will reveal in a moment, it all happens in Brook Hollow, the same town where we previously saw Garen in his comic, which is also the same comic where Locke was revealed the first time. However, it seems like we are in a different inn, because as you'll see, the events that happen inside are slightly different. And so the reason why Locke has been seen in all of these inns in Brook Hollow is because he is looking for someone. And that someone might not exactly be Vayne. Which also means, yes, this story is happening before Locke's cinematic and before Vayne's comic. The exorcist settled at a crowded table and ordered something he had no intention of drinking. In a dim corner opposite him, a man flirted with a woman, his passion enough to make the dead blush. The man wore coarse undyed wools and linens of varying brownish shades. His skin was a weathered mix of coppery tan and sun-scorched red, and his nails were cracked and dirty. A simple farmer, Locke observed, the kind whose life had once been less complicated. The man made openly amorous comments, twirling the woman's long red curls, comparing them to his wife's. The woman looked embarrassed, glancing across the inn whenever the man's comments grew too explicit. Her green cloak and leather corset were a cut above the sensible wear-worn wools around her. A fine lute leaned against the table beside her. She wore her age plainly, her deep frown lines offset by her shy smile. The farmer edged closer to the woman, as if the space between them was his to ignore. Beneath his cloak, Locke toyed with the iron nails between his fingers, contemplating his next move. As the couple stood to leave, Locke pushed his full mug to the man beside him. "Just realized I'm not thirsty," he said, clapping him on the shoulder. "Don't want it to go to waste." He left coin at the bar, his attention fixed to the couple as they moved for the door. The farmer's arm snaked around the woman, pinning her tightly against his side. Locke slipped out after them. His eyes adjusted to the night at once, his specialized lenses amplifying color and shape, unmaking the dark. Here, let's pause for a moment and quickly talk about the glasses. This story revealed that indeed Locke's glasses are special, and that their lenses amplify colors, and they make it easier to see in the dark. Now, the seeing in the dark makes sense considering you are hunting down monsters in the dark, but the amplification of colors is a reference to the skins we got in the first half of the Pandemonium season. These skins actually revealed that from the perspective of demons, magic looks like bright colors. And so these glasses were designed to amplify the colors and make it easier to see demonic presence. At least, that's the theory. Anyway, the story continues. He caught sight of the farmer pulling the woman into a dense copse of trees between two buildings. Locke was out of time. He muttered an incantation and closed his eyes. Ash enveloped him. When he opened them, a moment later, he materialized in front of the farmer, raising his stake just before the woman's claw pierced the farmer's chest. The woman's face twisted into a demon snarl, her eyes gleaming a sulfuric yellow. She cast off her cloak, revealing two long spiked appendages that moved on their own, writhing, seeking. "I dig the new look, Ev," Locke smiled. "When did you learn that trick?" The demon recoiled, her lashes rising like a two-tailed scorpion poised to strike. "Corvin," Evelyn purred, and her carefully arranged features began to shift, the red curls taking on a whiter hue, and the freckled complexion deepening into a smoky purple. You know better than to bother a girl when she's eating. But you're not exactly a girl, are you? Locke said, stepping closer, brushing ash off his cloak. Locke took another step. The demon struck, aiming her appendages for his throat. He shoved the farmer back and sidestepped, making the demon strike empty air and lose her balance. Before she could recover, Locke threw a fan of 3 nails at her feet. As soon as the nails hit the soil, deep indigo lines blazed between them, forming a triangular seal. Evelyn's face contorted as the binding seized her. Her careful smirk fell away, replaced with a wide grimace of sharp teeth. Be reasonable, Corvin. He's a pathetic old man. No one will miss him. His life is meaningless. Locke shrugged. I'll be the judge of that. She writhed, her long nails grasping at nothing. I haven't had a decent meal in so long. This man's agony, such a rare flavor. Her body shuddered as the hunger rippled through her. Just let me have this one. Pretty sure I told you Brook Hollow was off limits. Evelyn raised her lashes, struggling against the seal's magic. I had no choice. There was a huntress on my trail. Locke smiled. A huntress? Evelyn smiled. You know her, don't you? Locke held her gaze, his eyes hidden behind his glasses, refracted moonlight glinting in the violet lenses. What did she look like? Evelyn put a claw on her lips and glanced aside. Oh, I can't quite remember, she said sweetly. It was so dark, and I was so scared. Locke flipped the silver stake in his hand, considering, then shoved it into his cloak, and put his hands in his pockets. Tell me what she looked like, and where she went, and I'll release you. As long as you stay clear of this town, I'll leave you alone, same as always. Locke pinned her down with a look more paralyzing than the seal. Laid bare by the intensity of his stare, she felt the fight go out of her. Taking a deep breath, she shifted her features into a new face. This woman had short hair and sharp features. Shauna Vane now stood before Locke with a demon's eyes. He steadied himself. Evelyn, as Vane, pointed towards the nearest edge of Wildwoods. I'd hurry, sweetheart. She purred, pushing a lock of hair out of her eyes. Not all demons are as patient as I am. And that huntress? Evelyn bit her lip at the thought. I envy the demon who gets to taste all that delicious agony. Locke kicked over one of the nails, breaking the seal. He raised his brows, inviting her to try her luck again. She stared at him a moment longer, then dared to lean in, her lips nearly brushing his. You're no fun, she whispered in his ear, before disappearing in a mantle of shadow, leaving nothing but stillness and smoke from the broken seal. Locke turned to the farmer, who had curled into a quivering ball at the base of a wide tree. He crouched before him. Now, what to do with you? The glint on a gold chain dangling from the farmer's neck caught Locke's eye. He reached for it, pulling it free from where it hid inside his worn shirt. The chain was aged, but the locket that hung from it was well polished. On its back was the initial V. On its front was a tiny etched portrait of a woman. Locke recognized the same frown lines, the kind mouth, and the long red hair Evelyn had worn only moments before. How long ago did she pass? Locke asked, returning the locket to its place near the man's heart. A year ago, today, he answered, still trembling. It wasn't her, was it? I thought that maybe, that somehow, she'd come back to me. No, Locke said, it wasn't her. He sat back on his heels, then slipped the tool case from his back and opened it. You got any other family? Kids? The man shook his head. We tried. Victoria. We couldn't. She wanted a child so badly, but I was so happy with just her. She was enough for me. She was always enough. His voice broke, tears stinging his eyes. He gritted his teeth, refusing to grieve. Locke held out a small vial filled with a viscous, sparkling concoction. Take this, he said, and when the man didn't move, he set it beside him. This will numb you long enough for you to make it home safe. Locke lowered his glasses. Look at me. The farmer met his gaze at once, caught by the force of the exorcist's eyes. When you get home, lock all your doors and windows. And when the tincture wears off, you let it all out. everything you've been holding on to. Then you let it go. You let her go. Or another demon will find you sooner than later. He stared at Locke, recognizing something of himself. Something profound and heavy behind the pale blue gaze. Though the farmer couldn't say why, he trusted him completely. "It's your choice," Locke said, snapping his gaze shut and slinging it over his shoulder. He stood, easing into a stretch. "See you around." The farmer drew breath to speak, but Locke was already gone. Out of the darkness and out of the rough paved streets of Brook Hollow. And that was Locke's story. I'm gonna be honest, this one really made me feel like we are back in the era of the lore's peak. That was the era where the champions constantly interacted in their stories and it made the world feel alive. And even here, it definitely made the story more interesting. But before that, first, in case you didn't understand what happened with the farmer. The farmer was holding in grief after his wife died, and that grief started attracting demons, because demons feed on strong emotions. So Locke gave him a potion that would numb him enough to get home. This way he wouldn't get strong emotions until he got home, meaning he would stay hidden from the demons. But then after he got home, he was instructed to shut all the windows and the doors. Again, this would be to protect himself from the demons, after which the potion would drag all the grief out of his body, which would almost be like an emotional beacon for the demons, after which it was up to the farmer to just let go of the grief. This would be the only way for him to survive. Also yes, this is a reference to Locke exorcising the inner demons of champions. But then there was also Evelyn. What's really interesting is that here we learned that Locke knows Evelyn, and he already captured her and released her a few times in the past. Now of course we know that Evelyn should be responsible for killing Vane's parents, and since now we know that Locke and Vane have their own story between them, it begs the question, what kind of a deal does Locke have with Evelyn? Does he know that Evelyn killed Vane's parents? Was Locke somehow involved? The mystery is actually getting more interesting. Also, why is Evelyn left to be alive? We thought that Locke would be mercilessly hunting down all the demons, but here we learned that is not exactly the case. He has to be leaving Evelyn alive because he believes that she has some kind of purpose. Maybe he is using her for something specific. But also, from Evelyn's perspective, it is fascinating to see that Evelyn has a sense, as in like common sense. She thinks like a normal living being, except she still hungers, which makes her reasonable nonetheless. And that is a really big update for Evelyn's character. Because before this, Evelyn was treated as a lesser demon, one that almost mindlessly just hunted people down. But now it seems like Evelyn might be something more. She's also interacting with people, kinda like Tahm Kench. And so I wonder if this is some kind of a setup that's gonna lead into something more in the future. Because remember, Locke is also supposed to get his own comic later. So there is still more to come. But for now, even though Locke's bio didn't exactly reveal any of the previous mysteries, it did set up a pretty cool plot twist, which I really like. Because now it feels like we are once again exploring the lore of League of Legends. But also, it's because it's been like 5 months since the last lore drop. I feel like Evelyn. I hunger.